Hey group leaders, Dave Corbin here. Just want to give you a brief tutorial on how to get started with your group page. Now the LH Groups team will have created your page for you initially and set you as the leader of it. And so you'll get an email that looks something like this once that happens. All you need to do is go down to this blue button that'll say go to, and it'll have your group name in it. Click that and it's going to take you to a page where you can log in. Now you may already have a login, at which point go ahead. If you don't, you can click need a password. It'll walk you through that process. You can also go to groups.planningcenteronline.com and that'll take you to a very similar page, at which point you can just log in and then you'll be able to get to your group page. Now when you first log in, you'll probably only have your name, and then if you have a co-leader, their name will probably be in there, but we've preloaded a few people just to be able to give us some examples. Now on this is kind of your group's roster. This is where you can keep track of who's in your group. So if you need to manually add somebody at some point, you can do that with this add a member button. If you need to email everybody, you can click the email button here. You can also email individuals by just selecting them manually and then doing email. If somebody requested to join your group, they joined it, and then they haven't been attending, you've reached out to them multiple times, or they've responded back and said, hey, I'm not going to be able to attend anymore, you can also click this actions drop down and do remove from group, and that will clear up your group roster for that. Next thing we want to look at is the events tab. This is kind of like your group's calendar. This is where you can kind of set up your recurring group meetings, as well as any special events you might do, like a game night or something like that. And you can do that by doing create new event, enter in the information. This is when the event's starting, the date it starts, the time it ends, and then if it is a meeting that's going to happen frequently, you can do repeat weekly, every other week, whatever it might be. And when you do that, it's going to ask you how long do you want it to repeat to, and so you can just select the end date. So if that's for your group meetings, you'd pick, hey, this is the first date we're going to meet, and then this is the last date we're going to meet, and it'll create every event for you in between those two. The other thing to note here is this event reminders section. By default, every group is set to have a event reminder sent out 3 days before the event happens. Now you can change that to 7 or 10. But all that does is sends a simple email to your group members 3 days before your event happens, basically just asking for an RSVP, saying, hey, don't forget this is when it's happening. Do you plan to be there? And they have an option to select if they will or will not. And so what happens then is you can come out here and you'd be able to see, if we had requested that RSVP for this event, this many people said yes, this many people said no, this many people are still pending. You can kind of get a little gauge for how many people to expect for that group meeting. Now, 10 minutes before every meeting happens, you'll get an email that says, hey, don't forget to report attendance for your group. In that email, there's a button where you can click report attendance, and it'll take you to a page that looks just like this, and at which point you can just check off, hey, here's the people who came, here's the people who didn't. Now, if somebody were to show up to join your group, you can add them manually here. If somebody was just stopping by to check it out, you're not sure if they're going to stick around, you can just add them as a visitor, at which point you would just hit submit attendance report. And what becomes helpful there is if you look down at this attendance section, as you do each week, it's going to keep track of who attended when, and you'll start to get, over the course of several weeks, kind of an idea of who's consistently coming, who's not, who might I need to reach out to, who's missed a couple weeks in a row, that sort of thing. Kind of gives you a little snapshot of what's going on in your group. Next, I want to draw your attention to this resources page. Here you can share resources with your group, whether that be a file you want to upload, maybe it's a PDF or a document that has some supporting materials for the curriculum you're doing, or you can also do a link, maybe that's to a video, YouTube, or something like that, to help people out as you're studying whatever you're studying. You can also choose whether that's visible just to people who are leaders in your group, or if you want that visible to everybody in your group. And then you can click save, and that'll become kind of a little resource library for your group members. Finally, I just want to look at this settings section. This is where you can change what your group page is going to look like to those who are trying to join your group. And so obviously you can change your name, the name of your group. You want that to be something that's concise and descriptive of what your group is, that somebody kind of in a snapshot could understand what your group's about. Sometimes it's helpful to put your name in there. And also, you can make sure you want to make sure this meeting schedule has the right information in it. Hey, we're meeting on this date at this time. And whenever you make a change to any of these, you want to make sure you're hitting this green save button. If you don't do that, you're going to lose whatever you put in there. So also here you can upload an image, whether that's a picture of you and your co-leader or something to that effect, and that will display here as well as on the group page directory, where people can kind of see, gives them a little visual of what your group might be about. A couple other things you're going to want to look at here are this contact email section. You can put that in there. That'll show up on your group page as people are browsing. If they have a question for you about your group before it starts, they can email you and check that out that way. And then group description, you just want to give a brief little idea of, hey, this is what this group's about. Maybe, here's kind of the list of things we're going to cover. If you've got a book that people might need to buy to participate, here's the link to go do that. Just some basic things that people could get a pretty good idea of what your group's going to be like before they request to join. So now, once you've done all that, we're going to go through and check, make sure all the information's correct, and then we'll make your group public at that point, at which point you'll have this public group page. You can click that. That'll give you a link that you can share with people to point people directly to your page if you want to invite people to join you in that. So that's the basics of setting up your group page. If you do have any questions, please email us at groups@lighthouse.church. Thanks so much.